Say something, man. Any people in church in here? Anybody does church in here? Go to church every Sunday? I need y'all to pray that my baby mom has sex with Charlie Sheen with no condom. I'm tired of her, man. It don't make sense for somebody to take a shot to the coochie and get $600 a month. Can I at least get my oil changed sometime? What's up, man?
Welcome to
How
you doing?
Center Podcast. I got special guest Chris K in the building today, man. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I don't know why, but I'm exhausted. Mondays are kicking my ass recently.
Like the weekend go by so quick, man.
Yeah, we were talking. You have kids, I have kids, and 80% of the weekend is driving them around. Not that I mind it. I love hanging out with them, but you get 45 minutes to yourself, and it's whew.
That's why I take all my time during the weekend. I take my Fridays, my Saturday nights, like watch my football, whatever. Sunday, watch football. Me and my wife watch football together. So that's my time just to chill.
Yeah.
Then during the week, last week I took off for open mics. I just needed a break, man.
I had to do that a couple weeks ago because I've been going probably averaging 2, maybe 3 a lot of weeks for a few months in a row, and I just said, you know what, my comedy's not going to suffer if I take a week off. And in fact, it was. I'm glad I did. You just need to sometimes. You just need to just step back for a minute because you start just going to open mics and going through the motions, and you're not really getting anything out of it, and then you're exhausting yourself, and then there's no point. So you got to do it sometimes.
And I feel like mics, especially mics I go to, is really. It's definitely like going to the Olympics, going to Colorado and training for the Olympics because it's, when you at a mic with this normal audience and just patrons, it's completely different. It's all comedians because they're not going to give you a gauge of your jokes, if that makes sense.
No, 100%. And I think I have two mics that I hit pretty regularly. One on Tuesday nights, and the Thursday night one I'm going to plug by name because these guys are awesome. It's in Pottstown, Pennsylvania, at a bar called Rivet. So on Thursday nights, they usually draw a pretty good crowd of non-comics. I mean, I'm talking 8, 10, 12, but for open mics, that's great.
Yeah, that's great.
Now the Tuesday night mic, you're going to have 20 to 25 butts in the seats, but 20 to 22 of them are going to be comics. So it's a different feel. You're right, and I think you can use those for different purposes, when you're doing open mics.
And I feel like that week I took off, opened my eyes and opened my jokes eyes. You know what I mean? Because sometimes you run out of ideas. You know what I mean? You run out of ideas sometimes. And I tell my friends at my jobs and just homeboys and just coworkers, this job, this hobby right now, if you're in a novice, you're not getting paid, it's a hard journey because it's hard to be funny and find things that are funny.
Well,
it's easy, trip over my foot.
So I don't think it's that hard to be funny. I think it's hard to realize the moments that are funny, to remember to tell them again. It's all about writing. Like we all have these great moments every day that are jokes waiting to be written. And I think the trick is, are we paying attention enough? Are we in that right mode? So I think when you take that week off, especially from open mics, that could be huge because you get more into I want to get back into comedy. So maybe I write more, maybe I pay attention more.
And I had, I think, doing this journey, up there in my age, I'm about to be 32. That's a late start for a lot of quote unquote comedians, you know what I mean? So to see this and just observe things that I find funny and I get laughs from it is crazy. I had a whole me and Chris, we did the same comedy competition at the Naughty Goose.
And later if you don't mind, later I want to talk about competitive comedy because I just think it's something interesting to talk about. But go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So we did a comedy competition. That was my very first one. Never did it. And I've been working on the same joke for about a month. right? Just working out the kinks of it. Um, and I feel like that is needed, man. Because I got in the phase of listening to Kill Tony, right? Everybody, that's the biggest craze right now. Kill Tony, write a new minute or whatever every week. But it's definitely good to keep on making the joke polish.
What I've learned from, and I got a really late start. I started when I was 46. So what I've learned is just watching the comics that I enjoy watching, even at open mics, and watch the way they work, and ask them about it. Most people are happy to share with you, what their process is. But those comics, the ones that I saw my first open mic last December, I see some of them still, and occasionally they'll run one of the same jokes, but they're always working it, and they're not just running it to fill time at an open mic. They're running it because they want to try something new with it, or they just need to polish it a little bit. So yeah. The trick about this game is if you got a great 20 minutes, holy hell, you're ready for Netflix.
Yeah.
Think about that. 20 minutes doesn't seem like a whole lot of time. So what does that mean? It means that 20 minutes better be good. So that's why you're working at it 5 minutes at a time, building those blocks.
And I think that's important too, man. If I told somebody the other day, I was talking to a guy that does booking and has like a little small club. I said, man, if I ever got the chance to get up and you level up to a level where I could do a special, I would only have a 30-minute special. Because I being a content creator, it's hard. I watched Donnell Rawlings and Adam Sandler's new special. I don't think people's attention spans are long enough to sit down for an hour. I barely don't like to sit an hour long at the movie theater.
Well, and then, your problem is those guys that are putting out those half-hour specials, then you're burning that material to the public. So the next time somebody comes to see you, if you're doing 15, 20 half hour, it's got to be fresh. That's tough.
Yeah. And that's why I talked to somebody the other day. I'm in a chat with a couple comics from the Harford County area. I think it's more easier to do comedy based off your life than just come up with cat comedy. You know what I mean? Just it's hard just to think about something. You can use anything in your real life and spin it, or parody it to a level to make it a joke.
And that's my style of comedy as well. But I have seen some of those comics out there, and some of them that I see, I feel like they're just geniuses. It's that people haven't figured it out yet. But you do have some different styles out there. People that are still trying to do maybe even a parody of like old style comedy, in an irreverent way. And it's fun to come across those styles because I couldn't pull it off. That's not me,
And I think recently I have like a lot of shocking or not trying to be off kind of edgy comedy, but I realized just only doing it since April of this year. If you put a little bit of self-deprecating things about yourself in it, it lowers the blow where people don't look at you crazy.
And I think that's an important point. Yeah, absolutely. If you tell the audience, I don't think I'm any better than anybody else, I'm going to make fun of people, I think you're right. It does relieve some of that tension. Because look at a comic like Anthony Jeselnik, who's just got this persona on stage. Like, I am such an a-hole. He can do that for 30 minutes to an hour. That's his style. That's not something, that's not something that I could pull off. I agree with you. And that self-deprecation is just something I've always used like in my everyday life before I even thought about stand-up. And I think it does help you help the audience identify with. I think there's nothing worse than a cocky stand-up comic who's not funny.
Yeah, I seen a lot of but let me not say this. I've seen a lot of great value versions of Adam Sandler.
Yes.
Or somebody trying to be.
No, that's a great point. But when you see the guys that are good at that, at some sort of different style, it's because that's them on stage. It's not Adam Sandler wannabe. You know what I mean? If that's who they are, or that's
Yeah.
what they're called. Yeah. So that's
But
fun to watch.
I took some I believe studying it is nothing wrong with it, right?
No, absolutely.
Studying it, and I've really been getting my self-deprecation from Rodney Dangerfield, because he's like the godfather of self-deprecating himself, doing the stand-up. And that's why I've been taking little tad bits from him, because coming from where I come from, you know what I mean? That's my background of being a black comic. It's so many grab dick, you know what I mean, comedians. So if I throw that in it, it's going to be like, damn, I flipped it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and okay, and it's funny. We on entirely other ends of the spectrum. I worry about being like, oh, the dad. I don't, because I am a dad, and that's part of my comedy. But I'm not a dad. I'm not the Jim Gaffigan wannabe.
Yeah.
So that's it. It's hard to find that balance sometimes, but that's what open mics, that's what practicing is for, and that's I guess it's supposed to be the fun part, but who knows.
Yeah, and it's definitely like I said, let's get into what you was talking about, the competition. What you had to say about competition?
I hate comedy competitions and I love comedy competitions at the same time, because first of all, I don't, comedy shouldn't be competitive, because you could be funny, in a way that's completely different than me. How the hell are we supposed, how the hell is that supposed to be, are we supposed to compete against each other? But at the same time, I think they're great for the people like us who are basically just starting out. It's a chance to get up on stage in front of a bunch of people. But like the thing that I hate about it is I started thinking about it as a competition instead of as a stand-up, 7-8 minutes of stand-up, whatever it was, 6 minutes. So I made decisions on jokes that I wouldn't have made if it was just a show. And that's on me. But I think that's part of the problem with the competition. I much prefer just kind of a festival showcase. I mean, like, look, at our where we are, as you know, I might get $20 thrown at me for a show, and that's great. Or somebody might buy my beers for that night, and I'm happy. Until I progress to that next level. So I don't mind doing a free show every once in a while. I hate the idea of competing against people, because like I said, we're different. It's different styles, different approaches to things, and I'd rather just be able to try to make the audience laugh instead of thinking, "Am I funnier than that last guy?"
And like, I feel like I don't know. Like, when you see somebody do bad, it makes you nervous.
Yeah, you feel for him too, especially.
You feel for you because you took the drive.
Yeah.
You lowered the car up.
Well, that's the thing too, like, because it's not really a competition, right? Like, if I'm playing, a sport, I might not be doing it out loud, but I'm rooting against my opponent. I don't want them to play well. But if I'm at a comedy show, I want that guy to make people laugh. I want that woman to make people laugh too, because that's what we're here for. So it's hard to, at the same time that you're making decisions based on it being a competition, it shouldn't be. It's like, what's the point?
And I took the Naughty Goose competition for exposure, right?
Mm-hmm.
I took it as like it's a marathon, like the Boston Marathon. Everybody does the Boston Marathon, right? But your ultimate goal is to go across the finish line. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some people just want to just do it.
Well, like, the way that I look at things like this is, I grew up in the Baltimore area. I live in the Philly suburbs right now. Okay. So it was close to my old hometown. I knew some friends could come up. That was awesome. But like, I'll do just about any show where I can get in front of new people just so they see me and I get time on stage. Mm-hmm. Especially if it's a show that they've paid to be there for, and it's not just some little throwaway that's happening during lunch at some, but to tell a joke in front of an audience that wants to hear jokes is a lot of fun. And, the money will come. And I think that's another thing that's great about stand-up, is that unlike other, performance arts, and I will, we're not going to argue about that right now. I'm sure you agree with me. But as a performance art, it's one of the few commercially that the cream really almost always rises to the top. Right? In singing, for vocalists or bands, you got to get your big break. Go to any big city and just go to a rock show at a bar, and you'll hear bands that you're like, wow, how come they're not, bigger? It's just, you got to get lucky sometimes. But in stand-up, it really is. If you make people laugh, more people will book you. And unless you're, a total ass. So that's a nice part about it, because in some of those industries, you end up performing for very little money, or you're basically spending your own money to perform, and that happens in stand-up. But if you're working and you're progressing, that I feel like that period of time is relatively short. I don't expect to be doing free shows 3 years from now. I don't expect to be making a living doing stand-up either, but I hope to progress, and that's something I think that progress you can see more than you can in other. You could be an overnight success as a singer, or you could never make it even as talented as you are. So,
and that's why I told somebody, I don't know, I was at the State Theater in Havre de Grace. We got something once a month, first Thursday of the month. And somebody asked me, how long have you been doing it? Why do you do it? I said, man, it's been really helping my journey of mental health. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's real therapeutic just to look at something differently.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. No, and it's funny, and I think stand-up for me has been really therapeutic. And I know you're not supposed to use stand-up as therapy, and that's not what I mean, but like to be able to get out there and express myself, even if I'm telling a stupid joke, that's a release that I don't have in my everyday life, and it's nice.
And that's why I enjoy doing it, man. Hopefully, I've only been doing it since April. Like you said, hopefully I get booked, or you know what I mean. And I like this, I put some throwaway jokes up there online, and I like to see the response. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Somebody got mad at me because I joked about killing my ex-wife, but let me live. You know what I mean? Let me live. I'm not gonna really do it. But it's a lot of people. Oh, you shouldn't say that. This is therapeutic. I got a nasty divorce 6 years ago.
Oh,
so let me live.
Yeah. Yeah, and talk about open mics. I think it, especially when I started, like I said, last December, so not even a year now. But I don't know about you, but for me, for the first 2 or 3 months, I didn't really even understand what I was going to open mics for, other than to try out a joke. Like, I didn't know how to work out a joke, and not that I'm an expert now, but watching the other comics has helped me learn. No, it's okay. Okay, you're going to run the same joke 3 weeks in a row. That's fine. You're working that joke out. You're making it better. It took me several months to realize that an open mic was for me and not for the audience. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And I go to a mic now where sometimes they throw tags at you, man. Maybe you should switch that up a little bit, or maybe put that tag right there. I found some good mics where they help you with tags, and maybe you should just rewrite that. And
yeah, that's another thing. Yeah, I have one that I go to that's really small. It usually ends up being 6 or 7 comics, but you do your 5 minutes, then you might talk for 2 or 3 minutes afterwards, and somebody might have a tag for you. That's a different experience too.
So you know what I mean. So I found some good ones, but man, I realized in this game, you gotta be careful, like you said, not being an asshole, because it's definitely could be some backdooring. You know what I mean? Even in the small.
Well, and that's not to say that this is a just industry. No, I mean, there's the terrible comics that can always bring 15 people to a show, so they get booked. No, I get it; it's financial, But I think there's more opportunity. If I don't feel like I'm vibing in the comedy community I'm in, I could go to more mics in Philadelphia. I could branch out and meet people. And that's the coolest thing, is just meeting other comics who are starting out and busting their ass and creating their own opportunities. That's cool. Like I have 2 buddies that I was in a stand-up class with, like January, February, I forget exactly when it was. But they're now running their own open mic. They're now booking their own shows, and they booked a national headliner. Like, that's really cool. They're learning that side of the business. There's opportunities to make your own work, and that's interesting too.
And again, I think I talked to a lot of older comedians, and they said, man, I wish I had certain things which y'all have now. You know what I mean? The internet can change your life. You know what I mean? If you have a strong pen and got something 30 seconds of funny, you know what I mean? It can open the doors for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sketches.
At the same time, it can be so much work too.
It's so much. You're definitely right. Sketches and stuff like that. You don't need an SNL no more.
Yeah, and that's like if you'll notice, I forget who said it, and it might have been in a book that I was reading, but you don't see comedy movies anymore.
Oh no.
You know what? You don't, and the reason for it is because executives don't think that people need it anymore because you got comedy on TikTok and all of. But I miss a good comedy. I mean, I still watch some of my favorites, and that was part of the like that was what inspired me to get into comedy movies like Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Major League. I still will watch that twice a week, you know, to this day. And I kind of miss that aspect of comedy. Maybe it's all cyclical. It'll come back at some point.
Yeah, and yeah, it's just I think they just want to get even if it's a Marvel movie, that's a guaranteed $1 million. You know, over $1 million. Marvel movies.
Yes.
It's not to me like you said, romantic comedies that's done like either it's a horror movie or a superhero movie.
Yeah.
Or a suspense movie.
And now anything that's a comedy, because there's so many streaming services that need content, it's just going direct to streaming anyway. So
yeah.
But there are some not bad comedies that David Spade did a comedy that wasn't bad long. Anyway, but they're out there. It's harder to find. But like you don't have the Caddyshack, Something About Mary, those movies. Yeah. Man, they shaped comedy.
I'll just watch. I think it was on Netflix. Along Came Polly. That was
yeah, that's a good one. And they're, like I said, they're out there. It's not I was like late 80s through the 90s. It was comedy movies where, I feel like there'd be 2 big comedy movies every summer. And now, like you said, it's all superhero. And I get it because a Marvel movie is going to make you 100 million. You're not going to, but at the same time, we got Happy Gilmore 2 coming out. So maybe that will be good because it's all the original cast. I just hope it's not terrible, but,
he doesn't do it for the critical acclaim anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, but the Happy Gilmore itself was just almost perfect. So I hope I hope that they can maintain that. That could be hard.
I liked it. Like Mr. Deeds was one of my favorites by him. And what's the other movie I liked? He had a couple great movies, man, in the 90s.
He did, and
Billy Madison, one of my favorites.
I was never a huge Billy Madison fan. I don't know why. I think it was because I was probably a little older. Because what did you say? You're 30. You're 30.
30. I'm about to be 32.
32. I'm 47. So I was a little older for Billy Madison. So that's probably why it didn't hit as well. But yeah, I mean it's so funny. He just does what he wants, and that's fantastic. Yeah, he could be making a lot more money, but. He
don't care about the designer stuff. He wears sweatpants and just it look like he's the kind of person if you see him in public, he's not gonna give you that douchebag look. You know what I mean?
You'd think, yeah, exactly. What is there? Let me ask you because you're kind of newly starting out. I'm just curious, like, has there been anything that's been like a surprise about trying to get into comedy for you that was like, oh, I didn't expect that?
The booking is really touching. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's real humbling, because you can see something differently, but you gotta realize it's just business.
Yeah.
Like you can see somebody's that is not. I learned this from an OG comedian. He told me it's not about being funny.
Yeah.
Like getting a book is not about being funny. It's a part of being it, but they're gonna get who they feel comfortable with, and they like some of them like to have a diverse lineup, or you know what I mean.
Yep.
It might just be buddies. You know what I mean. They're gonna line their buddy up, and I have no problem with that.
And I think the good thing, though, like I was saying, is kind of once you get past that 2 or 3 year point, a lot of that stuff I mean, not all of it. Obviously, there's still favoritism, but I think if you're good and you're working at it, you can kind of overcome some of that stuff. Hell, at that point, start traveling or go to other cities if you want.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about doing. Just I don't know if I'm gonna do another competitive competition because
you know what, I will if there's one that I like. If I know it's going to be a good audience, I don't and the next time I've got to approach it not caring about the competition part of it, just looking at it as, hey, there's a chance to get up and tell 6 minutes worth of jokes. And I think if I had done that, I would have been funnier too, So I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But this is a tough game where you're constantly wondering, are you funny? And when somebody else gets picked over you, it's like, oh, guess I'm not that, so it's tough. It's just,
I don't think it definitely sometimes feels like, is it a bringer thing or is it about being funny?
yeah.
That's what I had problems with.
Well, and the thing I did like about the Naughty Goose is that it was judged by people, not the crowd. Because then it becomes a bringer. Because guess what? I would have won because I had a lot of people there.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I didn't because, and I forget what the guy who won. I can't remember his name right now.
Oh, Bam Jacobs.
Thank you. He was hilarious. I mean, he was the funniest set of the night, and I'm glad that he won because had I won because my aunt and uncle were there, I'd have felt like crap, And that's why competitive comedy sucks. And but again, those stage opportunities. Think about it. Like when you started in April. Because I know I didn't. Did you think, hell, I'm going to do a show in front of 70 people?
No, I didn't
right?
think about that.
Not this fast.
And I used to, like, a lot of people locally make fun of me because I used to tell a joke of like, I'll see y'all later. You know what I mean? So, like, I used to do that all the time because I used to get so nervous.
Yeah.
And I finally got to the point where I'm not as nervous. I'm relaxed.
I need to relax a little bit more on stage. As I've gotten older, I've got my anxiety has gotten worse. So that's something that I'm dealing with. But part of that is also just feeling comfortable up there with what I'm doing. Yeah, we'll all get there as long as we keep working.
And so that's why I started my joke off with, let's say, a prayer. You know what I mean? Anybody in the church, anybody go to church in here, you go to church on a regular, yes, help me pray this. You know what I mean? My baby mom has sex with Charlie Sheen with no condoms. I'm tired of paying child support. I would never thought about making that as a warm-up. You know what I mean? Just to warm up the crowd. You know what I mean? To fill the crowd out, see where they're going to go with me. See, can I get a quick... I always believe I like to get a quick laugh just to set the floor and make myself feel comfortable.
I do too. I do too. And now, but I'm exploring, like, is that always the best way? Like, I had a joke written like that. It got a quick punch up front, and then the joke developed, and it was funnier, at the end. And I had a friend say, there's just something that doesn't feel right about the joke. I was like, okay, what do you think? And he made one suggestion. I was like, oh, shit. I wrote that joke backwards. And I changed it, and I like the joke a lot better now. I think one of the most important things, especially early on, is if you have somebody that you can bounce ideas off of, another comic who's willing to say, that's hilarious, or, man, I think you should try this. I'm lucky enough I have two friends that will text. We have a text chain, and I might text them at 7 a.m. with the joke, and they'll give me their honest opinion. I think that is so helpful. And man, if you don't have anybody that's doing that with you, feel free to shoot me a message anytime you want to talk about jokes because I don't mind at all.
that's why I like to. Growing up in the 90s, I think they was always trying to put you in the resources, special ed classes, and give you riddling. That's why I feel like it's good to just go in from the past and dig stuff up.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, like I got
build up.
And I think that's the challenge as you get better and better is to get to the real stuff, but not have the audience realize you're even talking about real stuff. You know what I mean? Like you're telling them jokes, there's something under it, and that's what makes it relatable and funny. But in the moment, they may not even realize it.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I took that competition. I knew I was going to be in Cecil County, so I could easily put the towns. I could talk about Elkton because Northeast and Elkton is close, Edgewood, and blah, 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 blah. Just put all the towns in there, and I knew they was going to fall along. You know what I mean? Yeah. Talk about Edgewood. Oh, yeah, I know somebody from Edgewood. Oh, I know the stereotypes about Edgewood. Let me talk about a project girl. Let me talk about somebody that went to Hartford Community College. You know what I mean?
And I have a joke that works on that kind of identifying with the audience in a lot of rooms. It's a joke where I make fun of New Yorkers. I'm married to a woman from Long Island, so I feel like I have the right to do that. But because everyone loves to make fun of and shit on New Yorkers, so that kind of brings them in. And that what you're doing is the same thing. And it's so much fun to explore those different ways to connect with the audience.
And like I had another joke what I talked about. What did I say? My wife's scared of white vans, right? So, the scheme about white vans being rape vans.
Yep.
I was like, so I had a whole joke where I joked about that. No, That's just somebody who's going to fix some AC, and you know what I mean. So I have jokes about me being overweight, and I had a joke where I talked about being overweight, and I was making love with my wife, and my ass clapped. So I feel like it's good to have like unorthodox, you know what I mean, stuff in your work that just get people like, damn,
Yeah.
like, is that possible? You know what I mean?
Like one of my favorite jokes is just a throwaway transition because I have a bunch of jokes about being married. So one of my favorite jokes is I got married in the year 2000, so I'm coming up on 25 years, and always people clap and and are happy for you. And I say, well, to be fair, it's not all to the same wife, but I've been married for almost 25 years. And that I love that joke because I know as bad as a room is going, I can always get a couple chuckles and kind of get back on track with it.
Yeah, and I believe that is just is an amazing thing just to get a laugh, man. I don't know what it does to you. It's like I told my wife, I said, this is like the closest thing is of getting high. You know what I mean? Without getting high.
You can't beat it when you, I mean, honestly, and I think that's why we do it. That's why people say they fall in love with this, because when you've got a crowd, when you get to that point where you're telling jokes, and it's not just they're laughing at the jokes, but you're controlling the energy of the room. And I've done that maybe twice. And I've done it because the room was electric to begin with. So, it wasn't my skill. It was just the room was, when you're doing that, it just, man, it's just, you can't even describe how much fun that is. Like you said, it is a high. And it like if I have a show and that happens, I'm not sleeping till, 1 a.m. that night because I'm just so wired from that experience.
And like to just see, like just to build something up and just take the time. I hate writing, right? I hate putting all the punctuation and.
Nah, man, don't look at writing like that. You're writing every time you're thinking about a joke. Every time, like, you don't have to write it down. Like my phone, I write a lot because I'm ADHD and I will forget. So my Google Docs is just jokes. But the way they start for me is I think it's something and I just voice memo it. And then I write it I'm driving home. I've got a half hour to think about it. And then maybe I record it again. And then I'll write down an outline.
Yeah.
But don't think about writing as a burden. You're writing all the time. You just don't even realize it,
And I do. And sometimes, like you said, I talk to a couple guys. Like I got a couple old cats to come with me. They go to every little open mic. I asked them, and it was like, man, like my whole joke about growing up in special education. I had a joke where I talked about special education, and I was valedictorian, but all of them were all 6 of them were nonverbal. Like I worked that with my buddy. And I was like, yo, what you think about that? That joke right there. He said, man, that is some nut ass shit. You thought about some stuff like that. But I always do that. And I feel like my wife finally seen, dang, he's not really crazy for trying this out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
that's a nice feeling too, right? When your friends and family come out and they say, oh, there's something to this. This guy's actually working at this. It's not just somebody up there, saying whatever comes to mind. And I think that's a hard part for people to realize. Like, no, we work at this. This is effort.
And like people don't understand this overall, how long it takes to really form a joke and the time. Sometimes I got to just, because my ADHD is real bad, I just go play video games and just you know what I mean, to work on a joke and just,
yeah,
because it gets, sometimes you get real frustrated, or I take a walk, like, cause I hear a lot of writers take walks and to get their mind moving, you know what I mean? Or sometimes I just, like, I believe in meditation too, so sometimes I just stare at a squirrel jumping on a tree to tree. It's like, man, like it's
whatever it takes to get you in that mindset.
Whatever it takes, man. Yeah. But which overall, what are your goals, man, for this year, man, to finish up this year, man?
Let's see. So I don't know what it's hard to say what my goals are because I've kind of gone past what I expected at this point in the year. Mm-hmm. I'm doing a 20-minute set next week. Wow. I didn't think I'd be doing that in my first year. My goals are, I don't know. I just want to keep writing, keep working on new material and making it better. I don't, I want to get on some shows. I want to have 3 shows a month. If I was working, if I'm thinking about it, I'd love to have 3 shows a month, paid or not, whatever. I want to get on stage 3 times a month. That's not an open mic. But other than that, I'm just enjoying everything that's happening. Because so far I'm no star. I haven't, but man, there's something there, and that feels good.
It definitely does feel good, even though, you know what I mean? Like, I never did like that competition and just mics in general, but to see my peers say, damn.
That was the first time I saw you on stage. I had no idea you'd only been doing this since April. I would have known that. If you said you had been doing this for 2 years, I would be like, oh, wow, okay, cool. Because you can tell you've worked at it, and that's another thing. At least this, this art form does reward work a little. Yes, there are geniuses, but even those geniuses, comic geniuses, have to work with their jokes. Richard Pryor didn't get up there and just tell stories off the top of his head. Those were written jokes, and they may not have been typed out, but those were worked over, and he knew what he was saying up there. It may change from night to night, but this isn't just made up stuff. This is stuff that people are working on.
And sometimes I had like Percy Jackson's. You ever see the movie Percy Jackson, the Libyan Thief? You know how he was seeing that book and he rewrote the book by looking at it and seeing it differently. Sometimes, Chris, I'm on the mic, or I can ad-lib some shit like, let me put some shit right here to fill the gap out. Let me change something. I feel like sometimes it's good to write it, but sometimes you could ad-lib it or
so that's what I'm saying. So you're writing when you're on stage. If you're recording yourself in an open mic, that's writing. And you go, as long as you go back to it and say, okay, what worked and what didn't. That's writing. Don't think about writing as having to sit down with a pen and paper, because that, for me, like we both have ADHD, that can be a real obstacle. But when you think about all the opportunities, like you say, when you're on stage, you're writing. Those ad libs is your brain writing as you're in front of an audience, and sometimes that's the best stuff.
Yeah, and I did that. I forgot what I did that with. I ended my joke that night with, I said, man, I went back to that nonverbal shit. I said, I once dated a chick that was nonverbal. She tried to call the police on me, so I broke her fingers. And I said, damn, I can do a call back to somebody, a chick that it was nonverbal, and like, if her finger's broken, how can she, express herself? Like, if the cops do come. Like, so I love this comedy stuff. It's definitely been therapeutic for me. I definitely had a rough patch just in life with just your thoughts of, damn, am I really doing something right? And I didn't get the reward from playing sports like most people, but this comedy stuff, I see the gains and I see the losses if I don't work on it.
One of my favorite parts of this is I'm a lawyer. My day job, I practice law. Mm-hmm. At night, I'm hanging out with my best friends are a guy who works construction, a guy who repairs elevators. There's very few other places in the world where the 3 of us would interact socially and hang out and become good friends. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of like, I'm no better than anybody else because my job, lawyers suck, but I'm no better than you. It doesn't matter what my job is. It matters what happens up on stage and how we treat people in the room. And that's kind of cool too.
And I don't think funny is funny.
Yeah.
Funny is funny.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? I feel like whatever you do to get somebody laugh is what you do to make somebody laugh. As long as it doesn't come from a real hateful place, who cares?
Yeah. Yep.
Who cares?
Agreed.
But man, I appreciate you coming on, man.
Oh, thanks for having me. It was a blast.
I enjoyed talking to you, man. Let the people know where they can find you, your socials, and
I am Chris K Comedy on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. I don't do Twitter anymore because Elon Musk is an evil, evil man, and because I just don't understand. There's just Russian bots and shit everywhere now. I am all around the Philly suburbs. We got to get you. You got to come up to the Pottstown area sometime for a mic. If you ever want to, let me know.
Yeah, I'm in Delaware. How far is that from Delaware?
You're not. I mean, where in Delaware are you? I mean, basically.
Like Closer to
Southern.
Wilmington. Closer to Wilmington.
Oh, you're probably about an hour away. It's really not that bad. Yeah, it's probably not that bad. I come down to Bar 13. I'm door to door to Bar 13. I'm an hour.
Okay.
So
I heard about that. And what's the other one? Something Satire. What's the other one?
Oh, Church of Satire. That's out in Hanover. That's a cool. So anybody out there that's in like Maryland, like near the border or in the middle, like York, Pennsylvania area, it's a tiny little. It's like a 50-seat club. It's really neat. The open mic there. It's just the room is a cool vibe, and they all say this, but if that room is full, people are shoulder to shoulder and just a little uncomfortable and close, and that's exactly what you want for comedy. It really does work for some reason.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a cool room. But yeah, we'll be in touch. Yeah, come up here. I'm gonna. Havre de Grace isn't that? What would you say, Aberdeen or Havre de Grace? You guys are down in that area. Yeah, it's not that far from me. So if you guys are in that area, let me know. I'd love to come down and see a show or whatever.
Yeah. You forgot to give your socials.
Oh, it's Chris K Comedy on everywhere.
Okay.
So yeah,
TikTok, everything.
Yeah, except like I said, except for Twitter, I don't do that anymore.
Okay, man. I appreciate you coming on and giving me your time. 40 minutes of your time, man. This is Rod Uncensored, man. Check out all my socials out. My New England Patriots took a bad loss over the weekend. We're gonna lick our wounds and be back for Thursday for the Jets. You know what I mean? I love that rivalry.
My boy, my Packers got to win without Jordan Love, so I feel like that we stole one. I mean, it was against a terrible team. But look, you're playing the Jets this week. Normally, I hate the Patriots. Without Tom Brady, I don't care as much anymore. But as long as you're playing the Jets, I'm a Patriots fan. Okay, I don't want Aaron Rodgers injured, but I would like him embarrassed if you could.
Oh man, you won on that trade. The Green Bay won on that.
Yeah.
Man, check me out on all my socials, and we're out. Have a good night, man. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We're out.